What's going on, guys? Back with another video. So I have an interesting topic today. It's not really about politics, although I guess you can kind of compare it a little bit to politics or whatnot, but I've mentioned this before in a few videos, right? I want to talk about a little bit about the birth rate and what's going on, why is this happening, and why is there such a collapse. Now, before we do get into this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you so much who does that for me. It's deeply appreciated. So let's get into this here. So 1.33 children per woman, which is well under replacement. In order to have replacement, you have to be slightly above 2 because unfortunately terrible things happen. So not all kids make it, etc., diseases and whatnot. But in 2002, Canada's total fertility rate reached its lowest level on record at 1.33 children per woman. Most, 10 out of 13 provinces and territories saw their TFR reach a record low in 2022. Okay, so let's go into the fertility rates here. This is going back to 1921, so we got about 100 years of data here, and back then it was about 3.5. And then it goes down, up, down, then it takes a pretty big spike in the 30s here. Then it goes back up. So 1929 to 1939, the Great Depression. So that would explain why people weren't having children, because everyone was broke and it was hard to afford to have kids. Sound familiar? And then, of course, the Second World War starts, and it starts to go up, especially after where there's a huge boom. Now, this area here, this is called the baby boomers, pretty much all the way up to here. Then in 1960, authorization to sell the contraceptive pill to regulate the hormonal cycle, then it just takes a massive spike. And then you see here, the red line, 2.1, would be the cohort replacement level. And the blue line is the fertility rate, then it just takes a massive spike. Then in 1969, decriminalization of contraception and abortion continues to take a pretty big spike. And then once we get to about the 70s, the mid-70s here, it's kind of like, okay, it's going down, but then we got a little bit of a spike up. Then it goes down, well, then it goes up again, all the way until now, where we now have 1.3 births per females. Now, this is not purely a female problem, of course. There are men out there who are, quote-unquote, going their own way. I think those men have a lot of trauma. I think that they don't take accountability. They kind of sound like feminists, actually, a lot when you listen to them. Because everything's the woman's fault. They didn't make a bad decision. The woman did. So now they don't want to have kids. Then there's also a lot of females who don't want to have kids. Then you also have the fact that it's very expensive to start a family. Then you also have the fact that society is very divided. And for those reasons, you're seeing these massive spikes. Downswings in terms of birth rate. And it hasn't really been stable since the 70s. But it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And by the way, this is from 2022 here. So I don't even know if it's maintained this or if it's dropped. Is there a bit of a spike? I'm not sure. That the numbers only go to 2022. In a lot of cases, a lot of studies will show things, but they'll take a couple years to give out the data because they want to make sure it's accurate. So then we go down here, and again, total fertility rate, Canada, provinces and territories, 2002 to 2022. So this is a shorter sample size, but you're seeing, again, it hasn't reached replacement level. It's, what are we going to do? I mean, if you don't replace your stuff, you eventually go extinct. And that's probably why the Liberals want this Century Initiative program, because, well, if they're not having kids, we got to replace them, so let's bring in mass immigration, right? Seems like it's their only solution. Number of children per woman. Now, in Nunavut, it's actually above replacement, but it's such a small population, right? That's not really a factor. But when you look at Ontario, it's just in the tank. So, I mean, this really bad news. And then when we go here, I got this here. This is from Macro Trends. Look at this. From 1950, live births per 1,000 people. 27 in 1950. It's gone up a little bit since the pandemic, but still only at 10. 10 births per 1,000 people. Or sorry, live births per 1,000 people. I mean, this is not good news. And then we go down here. Sub-Saharan Africa, 32 births per 1,000 people. Niger, 40,000. Here's the list of every country. Now watch how far I have to scroll down until we see. I mean, look at this. Still haven't found it. Where's Canada? Oh, there we are. 9.94. Right in there with the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Switzerland. So it's not just like Germany, right? There's a lot of countries having this problem. And again, modern feminism, men going their own way, divided society, not enough accountability for people like men going their own way and feminists. And, you know, it's harder to find someone now. There's more temptation online, right? It's harder to maintain a relationship because of other temptations that some people have, right? And some people get a lot more attention than others, of course, but it's very interesting to see what's happening with the birth rate and how bad it's becoming. So what I want to know from you guys is, A, what do we do about this? How do we start convincing, and again, I know that the economic factors, the financial status of a lot of people for sure doesn't help, but there's got to be more than that. Now again, we go back to this chart. Here it shows you in 1960 authorization to sell contraceptive pill, and then that's when it really just took a big spike. Now that being said, do we need the birth rate to be close to 4? I mean, I don't know if we need it to be that high, but we certainly need it to be above 2.1. 1969, and then, you know, here comes abortion and contraception. And again, I'm pretty moderate on those issues. I'm not saying I'm against abortion. I'm just saying I think there are a few reasons you should be able to have one if you want. Not every reason. I'm moderate. Right? I'm not fully for it. Like, I don't agree with the anytime, any reason crap. But I do think that there are, in some cases, someone should be, or a woman should be able to have one. But ever since then, birth rate is just in the tank. And there's also no incentives to have children. I mean, you get like a tax break. They give you, I don't know what it's called, but I know people who are, you know, parents of young children, and they get a little bit of something from the government, but it's not much. And I'm not saying the government should just give more money. I'm saying they should be doing everything they can to make lives easier for us so that we can get back to where the birth rate's at least around, you know, 2.5, 2.6. But that means we need about double the amount of kids that are being born today. So what do you guys think? What caused this? Because, I mean, there's got to be other factors than just contraception and abortion. And I wasn't around here. I don't know why, like, basically after the baby boomers, you know, they didn't really have that many kids. Now, maybe it's because they grew up with all these brothers and sisters in this small house, and they were like, hey, it wasn't good to have, you know, 6, 7 kids. Like, both of my parents come from huge families. My grandparents had a combined, like, 20, not quite 20 kids, but almost. But now, like, a lot of their children aren't having kids. Some are, but a lot aren't. Some people have 3, but some people like me or my other family members who have 0. So, you know, it's like, it's something that's got to be changed, and there's got to be ways to change it. We have to find a way to get society less divided, bring men and women together again, realize that we are the yin to each other's yang, and not some, you know, teams that are fighting against each other. But it's also got to be more affordable. But I want to know from you guys, what am I missing? Let me know what you think in the comment section. What do you think's causing this, other than the factors I've mentioned, and what do you think we can do to incentivize people, other than financially, because we know that's a big problem, but it's got to be something else as well. So please don't be shy. Let me know what you think, and again, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel, and I'll be back shortly with a new one.